like to call the Dublin City Council meeting to order. If you would, let's please stand. I'd like to ask Pastor Martin Brock if he'd give us our invocation, and we'll say the pledge to the flag.
Father, we thank you for this time that we're gathering as your leaders in our community. We ask your blessing and your wisdom and how to carry out the affairs of this community, and we just want to honor you and bless the people, and we speak blessings over those that are making decisions, that your spirit will lead and guide us into all truth, and that at the end of the day, Father, we will realize that you have done this thing. And we thank you for Dublin. We thank you for every member represented here in our community, and we thank you for your blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank everyone for coming today. Due to it being March and a lot of other things, we're having a special meeting at this time today. In April, we'll get back on schedule with our regular meeting times. We got a couple of special presentations to make, I think, don't we, Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir,
before we get started.
Got several. All right, first is Mr. Dennis Wayne Brown here. All right, if you could step forward. We are pleased to announce that you are the Employee of the Year for the fourth quarter of 2017.
Employee of the quarter.
A quarter, not a year. I'm sorry. I'm messing you up. You're fixing to get the wrong check. Grab it and run.
Got upgraded real quick.
Okay, well, Dennis began employment as a part-time employee of the City of Dublin in August 10th, 2015 as a groundskeeper. He was hired as a full-time employee on January the 4th, 2016 as a greensman. Dennis is described by his peers as very humble and appreciative of the opportunity to work for the City of Dublin. His commitment and dedication to seeing the course turned around was evident. The golf course has responded well to his attention to detail. If anybody's down there, they can see your work in it. It looks fantastic.
Thank you.
Many instances, Dennis will not leave the course until a task is completed, often working well into the evening. He doesn't hesitate covering for other employees when needed. Has managed to work most weekends while balancing his family needs. He comes in early, stays late, takes pride in his work, has a great attitude, high work standards, is loyal, uses his time wisely, and goes the extra mile. They're just a few of the reasons that Dennis Wayne Brown is nominated by his co-workers for Employee of the Quarter. All right.
Dennis, on behalf of the mayor and the rest of the council, I just want to thank you so much for all you do for the city. It's quite an honor to be chosen as employee of the quarter. And so I got this nice plaque that I know you'll like to hang someplace prominent, and you can look at it and gloat over how good you did. This is a little token of our appreciation here.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm sure you can find a use for that, and I think you get a day off.
Yes.
You can take a day off when you normally are off.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody for this. Thank you.
Pleased to announce the Employee of the Year for 2017 is Detective Sergeant Mark Bell of the Dublin Police Department. Sergeant Bell began employment with the City of Dublin on September 11, 1995 as an uncertified police officer. 2 months later, received his certification on November the 21st, 1995, and promoted to corporal July 13, 2007, and sergeant on April 30th, 2010. Per his co-workers, Detective Sergeant Mark Bell is one of the hardest working and most reliable detectives I have ever worked with. I can call Detective Sergeant Bell on or off duty. He will always respond to assist with any investigation. Sergeant Bell was called to respond to a murder investigation in Dublin, Georgia. He diligently worked on this case and produced a suspect that led him to Florida. He drove to Florida and assisted law enforcement there with the apprehension of this subject. The City of Dublin Police Department are honored to have Detective Sergeant Bell as an officer, and that is absolutely the truth. We are. These are just a few of the reasons that David Mark Bell was nominated by his coworkers for Employee of the Year, Employee of the Second Quarter, and Employee of the Year. I'm sorry. Congratulations, Mark. It's a great pleasure we present you with this award.
Thanks, sir. That's quite an honor, and we're so proud of you and the work that you do, as well as the other officers. But you've been recognized by not only your peers, but all those that work in the other departments would be Employee of the Year. It's quite a nice thing. Here's a little token also that, and maybe if your boss will let you.
A week off. A week.
A week.
Yes.
A week off.
Mark, good luck with that week off.
Okay.
All right, next we have some more presentations. First of all, Mr. Joe Kynard.
You're sitting in the wrong seat, Jay.
It's a different perspective, I assure you.
All right, I'll read a little presentation. For when people are retiring, there's just, I mean, you could talk for hours about them. I'm gonna do a short thing. If anybody else has anything they want to say very quickly, please do. But most of these folks have been here for around 30 years. I mean, just no way to cover what all they meant to the city. But Mr. Joe Kynard III, are you the third, Joe? Good gracious.
There's a fourth sitting out there too.
Began his employment with the City of Dublin on 9/28/1987 as our city clerk/finance director. Has held this position for 30 years. He is married to Tracy Kynard, and they have two beautiful children, Lauren and Joseph, and they recently have a new son-in-law, Terrence. It says son-in-love. I'm not sure what that is. Joe retired. They retired from the city on 9/30/2017, and his wisdom and knowledge will be missed, and they definitely are. Happy retirement, Joe.
Thank you.
Joe, on behalf of the city, we thank you for 30 years of service. I mean, that's a lifetime of service, and we just appreciate. We've missed you since you've been retired, too. But you set a great standard, great example for us, did a great job while you were here, and we still rely on your wisdom and the character that you always showed. We're real proud of you, Joe. Also, I got one more little thing.
That's right.
Your 30-year pin. So hopefully you'll wear this with pride, and again, we just thank you so much. And let's give Joe a stand.
Okay.
All right. Miss Debbie Stewart, don't sit down. Come on down. Okay. This was, Debbie has been absolutely a fixture at the city for so long. If you,
A piece of the furniture.
but she started her employment with the City of Dublin on 7/18/1976. I think, I remember coming up, my daddy having to bring me up to visit the police chief about that time. As a police dispatcher, Debbie became administrative secretary for the Investigations Division 7/1/1983. Was later promoted on 1/4/2016 to administrative assistant to the chief of police. She's married to Byron Stewart, and they are caretakers to two beautiful granddaughters, Haley and Riley. Debbie is spending her retirement time with family and taking care of her husband, Byron. So,
Debbie, on behalf of the mayor and council, I just want to thank you so much for all the service that you've given, and I know I speak for all the citizens you've had contact with. This is a little something for you to remember your time here and just what a valuable employee you've been. And again, let's just do another.
Kathy Thigpen? Here she comes.
There's my buddy.
All right, Kathy. Kathy Thigpen began her employment with the City of Dublin on 11/1/1985 as operator trainee in the waste treatment plant. Kathy later became a waste treatment plant operator 3 on 10/17/1986 and a utilities maintenance operator trainee on 1/6/1989. She received her certification on 8/11/1989 to become a utilities system maintenance operator. She was later able to advance to chief operator on 4/18/1997 and chief operator 2 on 2/27/2004. Kathy held that position until her retirement on 12/31/2017. She is married to Billy Thigpen, and again, all three of y'all, you can people retire and you replace them, but you can't ever really replace them. I mean, there's three people, and Kathy, it's different with y'all gone. It's just a different place, and we really miss y'all. I just really thank y'all.
Michelle, too.
Mayor and the rest of the council, I just want to thank you for all your years of service and dedication. Lance said it all, and it's all true. So thank you, and God bless you in your retirement. And now let's do one more.
Now we have a presentation by Chief of Police Tim Chapman. He has several things.
To the mayor, to the council, and to our city managers, and we have two things we want to deal with very quickly. On February the 18th this year, at an establishment in the city of Dublin, our officers had to respond to a situation in which several gunshots were shot. Some prior to them pulling up, they were right at the location. And when they arrived at the scene, several more gunshots were fired. One of the officers in particular, Mr. Tyler Poole, he confronted several individuals with guns and could have took action. However, he demonstrated safety by not pulling the trigger because so many people was running. That was the right thing to do. It's so easy to armchair quarterback, but this officer, along with Officer Nicholas Davis, they did the right thing to preserve life as well as to bring that situation to an end. We had two individuals who were shot in the process. With that said, they went above and beyond the call and showed exemplary means towards heroism, and we want to present them with 2 plaques as well as a letter of commendation that reference their heroism for that incident. If you all will come, please. Excuse me, sir. So a lot of times we talk about the police, but these guys, they put their life on the line. That's what we're called to do every day. And I tell and teach them on a constant basis, law enforcement is not about a check, it's about a calling. We show up to do the hard things, and we do appreciate you all for everything that you all do for our police department. Before I give this out, we thank you all for allowing us to update. This is a bulletproof steel will stop a rifle range. There was 51 shells that were picked up at that location, being 223s, AK-47, 9mm, 40 Glock, and a 12 gauge. And this is also a new addition for our emergency response team, and we thank you all for that. With that said, we want to offer, we'll give this plaque to Mr. Nick Davis for his work, and thank you for everything along with this letter of heroism. We thank you for your act of heroism and professionalism, so thank you so much. This plaque is also given to Mr. Tyler Poole. His body cam shows exactly everything that happened at that time is hair-raising, and I just want to thank you for your professionalism. We are excited, we're pleased and proud that you two are part of this great agency. Thank you so much. The next plaques that we want to give, also for heroism, on February the 18th this year, 2018, around 12:30, we start receiving a call about an individual who was at the river bridge at the highest point. The officer was trying to talk him out of not committing suicide. We had several officers there, and without warning, this individual leaped from the river bridge into the Oconee River. Without hesitation, we had officers who stripped out of their duty, weapons, etc., dived into the river and went out and saved this individual. He had went under about 4 times. They did not even bat an eye to jump into that river. And so we're excited about giving this award to 2 individuals, Sergeant Eric Rowland and Investigator Dawn Rose. Will you all please come? With that said, we want to give these great officers a plaque for their heroism, as well as a letter that speaks on that end. And we thank you, Sergeant Rowland, for being a part of this great organization and making us proud. Thank you so much. Ms. Dawn, we thank you once again for your great work. You didn't hesitate as well to save a life, and we thank you for that as well. Thanks. We have a video, but I'm having problems with downloading it, so as soon as they get it done.
Couldn't get it going right, okay, we'll have that at the next meeting.
We're
If-
good.
If we can get it going by the end of this one, we'll show it.
I thank y'all for this recognition, but beyond that, I'd like to thank y'all personally for y'all's recognition for this. And I think y'all also need to be recognized for standing with the police department like y'all do. Y'all are very supportive of us, and we definitely appreciate it. So thank y'all very much for what y'all do.
Thank you.
Great way to start a meeting. Okay, we'll move into the regular agenda items. Are you ready to? Okay. Item number 1 on our agenda is approval of the February 15th, 2018 City Council meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Johnson and a second by Mr. Davis, is that correct? That we approve the minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Item number 2 is approval of bills over $3,000.
Make a motion that we pay the bills, Mayor.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Edwards and a second by Mr. Brown. We pay the bills. Any discussion there? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Item number 3 is approval of purchases over $3,000.
No purchases today, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Item number 4 is discussion and/or action on a proposal by the Mercer Group Incorporated for performing finance director / city clerk search. Mr. Reddish, Alan Reddish is here with the Mercer Group. If you would come forward, Mr. Reddish. We've got, just to tee it up a little bit for you, we have just been through with the Georgia Municipal Association a search for an executive director, and Mr. Reddish's group was well involved in that and a very professional organization. And they also, at the end of the day, they brought us 6 candidates for consideration, and all 6 could have been the new executive director. So they did a great job. Tiffany and I have talked to about 4 firms, and we're the Personnel Committee has met with Mr. Reddish earlier today and wanted council to hear his comments and ask any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, let me say thank you for giving the Mercer Group the opportunity to discuss the kind of services that we can provide to you as you search for this important position. I will not take a long time to do that. I think you have seen the details of the proposal already, but I would like to highlight a few things I think are important and then give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have. First, just a couple comments about why you might want to consider a firm such as ours, and most specifically us, because we think we do an excellent job. Those of you who are involved in doing any employment in any organization of much of any size, you'll know the days of just advertising and they will come are behind us. There is a shallow pool of qualified persons this day and time who really will come and move into a community they don't know, and many times bring the credentials that you would like to have. You have to be more aggressive than just simply running advertising. And that is where the Mercer Group comes in first and foremost. And that is to be aggressive in trying to promote your community, the position that you have, and the kind of quality expectations you have of the new clerk finance director. The other point I would make is by using a firm such as ours, you say to the public first and foremost that you are very much supportive of transparency in how you do the public's business. You are a person who wants to be objective in making the kind of decisions that you're asked to be to have made before you, and you seek professionalism in the staff that you have. You've just recognized some very outstanding employees, and I know you want to continue that. And when you go to make this particular decision, we at Mercer can help you be postured in that kind of way. The last thing that I will note here is that one of the things that we would like to do is to suggest to you that we would assemble a very experienced and a very good team to help you make the decision that you want to make for this particular position. The first person I want to note is Mr. Jim Mercer, who owns the company. He formed a company here in Georgia over 30 years ago. He's been involved in the placement of about 2,000 local government managers, persons in leadership positions throughout the country. So he has a wealth of experience. He will be the principal in charge for this particular project and certainly can be present with you at any time that you might feel that you need his input to the process, and will oversee all that's done in order to get you the kind of person that you need. I will be serving as the project manager. I would be your primary person that you would be in contact with on a regular basis as the project unfolds and you ultimately make the decision for this community. I actually come from local government background. I was a city and/or county manager for 35 years in the state of Georgia. Retired about 2 years ago after serving about 15 years as the manager for Athens, Clarke County. I have worked in smaller governments as well as larger ones, 3 in Georgia to be exact. In addition to that, I served as the associate director of the Carl Benson Institute of Government for about 3 years. So I know local government. I know local government in Georgia, and I have also been involved in hiring a lot of professional people in the places that I've served, and now as a part of the Mercer team. The third person that would be a part of this team is Lisa Ward. Lisa will be serving as a senior consultant for the project and will be assisting with me in terms of doing interviews, evaluating the applications that we might get, certainly providing her wealth of experience in HR, which is considerable. She has about 30 years of experience in government, and most recently has been working for a very large membership corporation, electrical membership corporation in Georgia, handling their HR responsibilities. So a team, I think, would be very much connected to Georgia and certainly have a good understanding of what your community and your government is about, and we hope to be able to bring to you the kind of quality person who will stay 30 years, just like Mr. Kiner did earlier. I was a little intimidated when I heard what we were having to try to replace ultimately. A couple things I want to note in terms of the process that we would follow. I think that would be of some interest as well. We will have a very specific work plan that we would follow over the time that we're working with you, beginning with doing a position analysis. And the way that we start that is we'd sit down with you individually as council persons and the mayor, And we would ask you certain questions about what you think is important in the community in terms of issues that will be coming in the future. Things that are important in terms of service delivery here as it relates to the clerk finance director position. Find the kind of qualifications that you would be looking for in this individual, the kinds of qualities you want in this particular person. We would meet with you individually. That would be one of the first things that we would do so we can best understand the position that you have to fill. From that, we would begin to draft a position profile, which ultimately would manifest itself in something like I've handed to you. This is a draft. This is not the final product, but it will give you an idea of the kinds of things that we do for the communities in which we work. This one is for the city manager in the city of Cartersville, which I'm currently working on as well. So once we gather information from you and other sources, then we will draft to you this same kind of recruitment brochure, which you will ultimately have the opportunity to review, comment on, and then we'd get some approval to move forward from that point. After that, we get into the more formalized recruitment process, which we will be advertising nationwide and certainly within the state, in locations in which persons who are interested in finance and interested in local government management and the kinds of things that would be important to your clerk finance position, we'll be advertising in those kinds of locations so the best persons would see those, and hopefully we can encourage them to apply. The advertising process takes anywhere from 30 to 40 days. We want to give plenty of opportunity for everybody to apply who may have the credentials. And we'll certainly be focusing that, as I say, primarily in the field of finance, because that's the largest part of the job that you have before you. Once that is done and we'll receive the resumes, the Mercer Group will then do a review of all of those resumes and we'll compare them against the qualifications and the information that you've given us that's shown in this particular recruitment brochure. So we can compare qualifications with the applications that we do receive. We'll analyze all of that. We will do a preliminary screening of what seems to be the best candidates, come back to you with some number between 6 or 8, usually, depending upon the number of qualifications or qualified candidates that you get. Share some information with you about them as we understand those candidates at this particular point. I will then be asking you to help me reduce that number to a smaller number, probably somewhere between 4 and 6. And once that number is determined, then the Mercer Group will do a very detailed background check, which will include certainly checking all references. We will then check for such things as our financial background, their educational background. We will do a criminal check on all those persons. We will also do a social media, internet search. As you know, this day and time, that's critically important. You learn a lot about folks that sometimes you don't want to know, but you ought to know. And we do those kind of background checks as well, including we check financial stability and their past employment to make sure that the information they're giving us is correct and you won't be embarrassed by these persons once they're here for a few months. All that information is gathered into a report. I would create an individual notebook for each of you when we get to the interview process. And in that notebook would be all the information we've gathered about that particular candidate for you to use when you sit down and do your interviews. In addition to that, we would provide you some sample interview questions that you could use. You don't have to use those, but they certainly are a way of getting to the areas that you need to know about as you make a hiring decision. Once you go through that process, then it would be up to you to determine who would you like to have as your new clerk finance director. Once you make that decision, if you'd like for the Mercer Group to be involved in helping negotiating an agreement for that person to come, we provide that service as well as a part of our agreement with you. One of the things that we try to do from the very beginning is maintain as much confidentiality as we possibly can. The kind of candidate that you want is really probably the candidate out there that's really not heavily looking for a job at this particular point, who's comfortable where they are, they do a good job, and you can imagine they don't want to jeopardize this current situation that they're in. So we try to maintain as much confidentiality as the law allows, and that we think is appropriate to protect interest of those particular candidates. we'll be encouraging you to do the same thing. Ultimately, it will allow you to talk to the better candidates, is what I would suggest to you. Once the person has been employed for about 30 days, if you would like for us to come back and talk to you and them together in terms of job expectations, we'll be glad to do that. One of the things that we guarantee by this process is that we will not recruit from your quality employees, as the ones I just heard about this morning, for a period of 2 years. We don't think it's right for us to come and get to know your staff and then sort of cherry pick the best that you have and try to move them someplace else. So we make a commitment for 2 years. We don't do that unless you give us permission to do so. The second guarantee that we give to you that's important is that once you decide on a person that we have brought to you through the process I have just described, if for any reason they take a better job or you terminate them or whatever the story may be, within 2 years, then we will conduct another search for you, and the only cost to you will be out-of-pocket expenses. It keeps us honest in trying to bring quality people to you, and it gives you some comfort in the fact that you will have a quality person, because we don't want to do this twice any more than you want to do it twice. So we're going to try to make sure you have a good person there. The timeline on this, to be honest with you, to do a quality kind of search is somewhere between 90 and about 95 days. That includes everything I've just outlined to you in terms of what we would do and the interaction that we as a Mercer Group will have with you as mayor and council. Because at the end of the day, this is your process, and it is a process that you need to be comfortable with and that you need to be making all the important decisions. We're simply going to be here to facilitate that. That 90 to 95 days I just described also includes the 14-day waiting period that the statute of Georgia, Open Records, Open Meeting Act requires of you. Once you name an individual as the finalist, you're required to wait 14 days before you officially name that person to become the new clerk finance director. So within that 90 to 95 day time frame, we will get everything accomplished in such a way that you can officially name that individual. They can give notice to wherever they're currently working, and then they would come at whatever time frame would be happening after that. I'll stop right there because I do know you've seen the complete proposal. Is there any questions that I might answer for you at this particular time?
Council, do you have any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we enter into an agreement with the Mercer Group to work on financial clerk position.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Johnson, a second by Mr. Griggs, that we approve the contract with Mr. Reddish and the Mercer Group. Any discussion? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Reddish. I guess Josh Powell will be your contact on the contract, and then Tiffany will be your point of contact with the city of Dublin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate your confidence and the confidence of the council, and we're looking forward to doing this. As I mentioned to you a minute ago, the first thing we'll need to do is find some time to have these interviews, and I'll be back in touch with, probably starting over here with Ms. Tiffany to start the process. So thank you for that, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you, sir. Okay, item number 5 on the agenda is discussion and or action on a contract with Thomas & Hutton Engineering for the Springdale US 80 signal.
Okay, we've been approved. One of our Transportation Investment Acts project was a proposed signal at US 80 and Springdale. I think most anybody in town that drives that way knows one's needed and wants it bad. So Mr. Doyle Kelly's here to answer any questions you have. This is the contract. We've been approved. DOT said we can get the light there. We've got approval from DOT. We got the money. We just need to get Thomas & Hutton on the job, designing it and getting it out there. So this contract hires them to design the light.
Sounds like we got the easy part done.
Yeah.
You got any comments, Mr. Kelly?
No, sir, just
What about timeline?
everybody
City Bluff, and, so the goal will be to try to get it up this fall.
Okay. Got you on camera.
TIA process.
All right. Council,
Make a motion, we approve, the contract with.
Second.
got a motion by Mr. Smith and a second, was that Mr. Brown, Mr. Jones? Mr. Brown, that we approve the contract with Thomas and Hutton. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Item number 6 is discussion and, action on the award of a contract to Grant Specialists of Georgia for CDBG application administrative services.
All right, Mr. Deborah can answer any questions you have, but I'll just tell you right quick, the project that we've chosen for the CDBG, a current that can apply for, is another group of houses that need remediation. The grant would be in the amount of $750,000 if it's all approved. And this is as I said, CDBG's Community Development Block Grant comes from the federal government, administered by the states. And because we're a Plan First city, we can apply for this every year instead of every other year. So the first thing we have 2 items on the agenda that relate to this. The second one, number 7, is actually the resolution saying, yes, this is what we want to do. Y'all would need to approve that. And before that, the item is to hire Grant Specialists of Georgia, and a representative from Grant Specialists is here to answer any questions you have about their services to administer the grant. They're specialists in doing housing grants. That's kind of a different animal than we've done in the past, and we've got one going now that they're doing. Very pleased with their work, doing us a great job there, and we would like council to approve them doing this grant also.
Grant is actually up to $750,000. This particular project is going to be a little bit less than $600,000, so it's not going to be quite as much as the previous grant. But the resolution, the first thing is the contract, and the contract, of course, is for the grant writer to write the grant and submit it to DCA. And the cost of that is $3,500. Also, in the event that we receive the grant, that we would like for her to administer the grant, and that cost will be paid out of the grant once we receive it. So the second thing that you're approving is the actual resolution that is required by the Georgia Department of Community Affairs to, for the local government to support the application in its submittal.
Questions from council?
And I don't know if we identify the project area, but the 2018 project area is going to be Edmond Street, Child Street, Carolyn Watson Street, Glenwood Park, and a portion of Garner Street.
So we need 2 motions on this, 2 separate motions.
Yes, two separate.
Mr. Mayor.
7 and 8, or
That's 6 and
6 and
6
7.
and 7.
So let's do number 6 first.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we contract with Grant Specialists of Georgia for the CDBG application. Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Davis and a second by Mr. Jones. We contract with the grant specialist for the work. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Now, item number 7 is the approval of the resolution.
Make a motion that we approve the resolution for the 2018 CBG housing application grant. Resolution.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Jones and a second by Mr. Brown that we approve the resolution. Any discussion there? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, item number 8 is discussion and/or action on the award of a contract to the Heart of Georgia Altamaha Regional Commission for completion of an urban redevelopment plan for the city of Dublin.
An urban redevelopment plan is the first step in rehabilitating an area, and we had an urban redevelopment plan for the Martin Luther King corridor, and allowed us to do some programs down there. That has about run out, and it's time to redo those things. We decided instead of doing one area at a time, let's just do the whole city, so we don't have to patchwork it one little area at a time. And so this is an award of a contract to the Heart of the Georgia Altamaha Regional Commission to help us and work up that plan. And Deborah can answer any questions you have.
Council, you got any questions on that one? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the contract with the Heart of Georgia Altamaha Regional Commission?
So move. Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Johnson and a second by, Mr. Jones, that we approve the contract. Any discussion? Hear none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, item number 9 is discussion and/or action on a resolution authorizing the acting city clerk to write off certain uncollectible personal property bills owed to the city of Dublin. Is that yours, Ms. Stanley?
It's just uncollectible, property tax accounts that we've been maintaining on the books for some time now, as you can see from the spreadsheet that you have in your packet. And, we were asking for y'all to authorize those to be written off so we can take them off the books.
Okay.
Are these all businesses that are closed and gone? Is that?
The vast majority of them are, I believe. Tammy, she will about it if she's gonna.
But yeah,
I believe they're all businesses if you look at the list.
Okay.
They pretty much are.
Okay, any discussion on that, council? Not, do I hear a motion?
Motion for approval?
Second.
Who's the second? Mr. Brown. Got a motion by Mr. Edwards and a second by Mr. Brown that we approve the writing off of those particular bills. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Item number 10 is discussion and/or action on final water park design for the purpose of issuing an RFP.
All right, Ms. Stanley, could you handle this one?
Yes. In order to move forward with the water complex at Southern Pines, we need council to approve the build to design that you have in your packets. It will consist of working off the existing splash pad. We'll have a 6-lane swimming pool, lazy river, and 2 water slides, and also add on to the restrooms to expand those. So once council approves the design, then we can move forward with issuing an RFP.
Okay. Any questions of council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Davis and a second by Mr. Smith that we approve the present design that we have and issue the RFP. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Jones, for being here. I'm sure that's why you're here today. Or feel like it is. Thank you for being here. You might be getting up to complain in a minute. I don't know. Okay, item number 11 is discussion and/or action on declaration of surplus. Mr. Jones.
I have 6 vehicles, and we're asking y'all to declare surplus: a 1988 Ford F-350, a 1987 GMC Brigadier, 1996 Ford F-350, 1978 Ford F-600, and a brand-new 1990 Chevrolet C6500. So all of these, we have gotten the use we can out of them, and they're nice vehicles and available for the public very soon.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move for declaration of declaring those all as surplus.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Brown and a second by Mr. Davis that we declared items surplus. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, that brings us to citizens' comments. Are there any citizens that would like to address council?
First of all, I'm Chris Smith, son of Eugene. Just give you a quick rundown of my background. I graduated 4 years, did 4 years at Mercer University, graduated with bachelor's in business administration. All right. I chose to come back home to Dublin. I could have took a job in Charlotte, North Carolina, but I chose to come back home to help my father with his businesses and to just give back to my community. All right. Prior to the incident we just seen, 3 to 4 weeks, I went and talked to Chief Chapman, trying to get help from the DPD about issues like that. All right. I was told that I would not put, he would say he would not put officers in harm's way, which I totally understand. But in a situation like this, it could have been prevented. If you would have allowed your officers to come down, their simple presence would have changed the whole outcome. Just 2 to 3 officers, a police car, would have changed the entire outcome. All right. I grew up with Tyler, right down the street. I'm sorry he was put in that situation. I definitely wouldn't want my childhood friend put in that situation. I would not. But when I come to DPD and ask for help, and he would not help me. But I can ride around Dublin, Georgia at 11 o'clock at night on the first Friday and see police officers walking around downtown patrolling, police cars posted downtown around a different group of people. That bothers me. What's the difference between the group of people at that place and the group of people that's downtown? You can provide officers for that, but you can't provide officers when I come asking for help. I reached out to City Manager Lance, we reached out to Mr. Mayor, and still the same outcome, no help. First off, Chief Chapman, he know firsthand, he used to be a security officer at clubs. He know firsthand on how it is when the club lets out at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. People want to stand around and lord and talk and engage in fights, arguments, all kind of things. So he know firsthand what goes on at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning once the club lets out. So she should want to protect people. You say you want to protect and serve, but you didn't do that. I feel like if you would have agreed with me, allowing your officers to work, they were going to get paid, the whole incident could have been prevented. Come to you again, ask for help. What should I do? I went to DPD, I went up the chain of command, asked for help, and I still get a no. So I'm asking you, what should I do?
If it's a situation where you think there's going to be violence erupting, what you should do is close the business. I stand behind my chief. I stand behind my officers. You said yourself the chief knows how it is. Chief made a decision to protect officers. Our officers' safety is my #1 priority. Not trying to put money in someone's pocket. That's a private entity. When you're trying to host a club, other council members disagree with me, but if you're going to have a situation where you know there's possibly violence going to erupt, that situation don't need to go on. I back my chief. I back our police officers. We got them their armor they need because of situations like this. The situations like this wouldn't arise. We wouldn't have to spend $43,000 on this armor. So if you want to know how I feel about it, I mean, unfortunately, I'm just a very upfront person. If someone asks my opinion, I'm going to tell my opinion. Shut the club down. That's what's going to fix it.
I understand that. And
Well,
go ahead.
I think some alternatives can be discussed. I do think we need to sit down as a group and talk to various business owners about what could be done. Now, I see when we go to the football games, we go everywhere else, we have lots of officers there. And we could sit down and talk about to see whether there's a possibility. People trying to make a livelihood ought to have an opportunity to make a livelihood. And it's various things, and it's not a lot of things going on in the city of Dublin. People need to unwind and have a chance to kind of unwind and relax after they've worked the whole week. And not having many places to do that in the city of Dublin, at least it ought to be a discussion regarding that. I've been various places around the country, and we've seen where we where officers are there. And why is Dublin so much different than any other city? So I appreciate the work that the chief, the officers are doing. Safety is first, but I think if officers are willing to do it, then it ought to be a discussion that they can do it. Now, if the officers are not willing to do it, then we'll have to come to a conclusion, well, we don't have any officers that's willing to do it. Those are my comments.
I'm all about a place to relax, but the problem is sometimes, and if you want to have a peaceful nightclub, I have no problem. No problem whatsoever. But the problem is when you have repeated incidents at the same location. So I don't know if management needs to change, or maybe a private security that's maybe not police enforcement officers, maybe a security detail or something. I have no problem at all with someone having a place to go hang out at. When I was younger, I used to go hang out places, but we didn't have shootings and things going on. So the problem that want to be addressed is what can be done to resolve it where you don't have that type of atmosphere going on after it. And if there's something that can be done with maybe a private security detail, but as of right now, I'm not going to sit down with Chief and ask him to send someone in there just because of the repeated history. Now, I have no problem if it's a peaceful and relaxing nightclub like Councilman Davis said. I have no problem with that. But if you have repeated activity, I'm not going to ask officers to go in there. They already put their lives on the line enough as it is, but I'm not going to ask them to go in there. So, and that's the reason I say shut it down until there's going to be repeated instances going on. Now, if it can be a peaceful atmosphere, relaxing atmospheres, and the police feels comfortable about sending security, I have no problem at all. Right after watching that video, there's no chance, and you know what, that I'm going to put him on the spot and ask him to put someone out there.
Let me ask
I'm a veteran, and most people look at that and get scared. I'm probably about the only one up here on council who's actually been in a war zone. So you sitting here looking at that, I've been in a war zone, so I know what it feels like to wake up and live. You don't know whether or not that's going to be your last day. Only people you could trust is the people that got the same uniform on that you got. I done been there, did that, but I signed up for that. When I raised my hand and said that I would defend the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, I couldn't sit there and tell the United States government, don't send me to Afghanistan. I don't want to go, I'm too scared. Man, they looked at me like I was a fool.
Is this
No, I said that to say this. I support the police, and yes, I support them and back them 100%. But they do say on the thing to protect and serve. That protect and serve mean everything. And I'm like Councilman Davis. I see them at the banks. If the bank get robbed, what you gonna do? Tell them don't go to the banks no more? If a person really, if I'm really trying to rob a bank, and we done seen this, you talking about people who's gonna be organized and know what to do. And they coming in with high-powered situation. I seen them at Walmart, and we all done seen on YouTube what happened at Walmart across the country. It gets wilder than that sometimes when you talking about during Christmas time. All I'm saying is if we're going to provide protection for businesses, and I don't care what type of business it is, we got other businesses around that we don't want to talk about that's being kept under the hush-hush that have had problems at their establishment. Nobody says that. I mean, so what I'm saying is why has Dublin got to be the only city where the police is not, where DJs can go and they don't feel like that they'll feel safe because of the fact that they're not being provided with protection. I also, when I was in the National Guard, I've been there when they had parties at the Guard. And I can sit here and honestly say, without a shadow of a doubt, the time that it take the police to escort a business to the drop box and drop off that deposit, you a clear parking lot. I ain't telling what somebody done told me. I've seen the police not even got their car, ride through the parking lot with the lights on, and just get on the horn and say, clear the parking lot. Everybody gone. Nobody arguing. It's a difference in a police officer telling you to do something where they're on duty, off duty, and a plainclothes person telling you so. I mean, I'm like Councilman Davis, we do need to sit down. I don't want to take up time, but we do need to sit down, and we do need to have that discussion, opening it, and be honest about it.
I was at First Friday night, cooking barbecue all night. Not only were there every race and nationality represented there, probably my tent was probably one of the biggest gathering places, but nobody shot 51 times. Nobody, no, I felt safe there.
Why?
Because I wasn't in a place that people were shooting.
But you had police security, right?
No, well, we had two guys and they were walking around.
So you can have two guys, but we can't have two guys.
Well, that was not a private event. That is a city-sponsored function.
Still a gathering.
That's a development authority sponsored function. There's a big difference in that and a for-profit business. And I really need to be quiet because this is under investigation, I understand. So we need to just, I'll stop there. But I don't want our policemen going into stuff like that again. And that's the city manager's responsibility, but.
Unto the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for who? For who? Do we have a respectable peoples here? And justice for who? I'm Eugene Smith, Chris' father. Tyler was raised up 2 doors from us, from 1 year old to a grown man, pretty much. Chief Chapman and Officer Howard worked for me at a club in 1994, 1995. Now, if we needed help back then, Councilman Edwards, if we needed help back in 1994, what do you think we need in 2018? Where have you been, Councilman Edwards? If we needed help in 94, let's go back. Let's take it a little deeper. Let's go look at Dublin High School. Let's look at Dublin High School. Dublin High School was 90% white. Look at Dublin High School now. 90% black, 97% black. We in a whole different society, Councilman Edwards, and you know how you come up when y'all wasn't born poor. Y'all wasn't born poor, but I was, and I struggled my whole life. I'm handicapped. You see, I'm handicapped. Prosthesis. I can take it off. Huh? I worked my whole life so that one day, in this country of America, my kids, like Dr. King said, my kids could live and eat off the fruit of our labor. I'm not a war-drawn criminal. We asked for the same justice for the same here. I was with him when he went and sat down with Chief Chapman. I have talked with Chief Chapman. Other entertainment places have talked with Chief Chapman. We in a world to where people stealing guns from the police station. Some of those rifles, those assault rifles, was probably stole from the police station. Remember they stole guns from y'all. So those same assault rifles are on the street. Now, Parkland, Florida. Parkland, Florida, those same assault rifles. Are we gonna close the school? Did they want to close the school? Did they want to condemn the school because of some psycho got hope to assault rifle and cut the food? You can't blame a building. That building is sitting there now with no activity and no problem. It's a society. So that's why we come asking for help. We can take the law into our own hands. We can protect what's ours. We can do that. We can get out there with the same assault rifles that they're using and take care of our business. Is that what we need to do? We're trying to prevent from doing that. We come going through the chain of command. The chain of command. We talk to the chief, who I love dearly. I don't have nothing personal. I still don't have nothing personal with chief. It's all business. And he have his choice. He can choose not to. But do we have to take law into our own hands? Because if we can't get help from the law, then that's what we have to relate back to. Because we're going to protect our business and we're going to operate our business. So we come asking for help.
What you're asking for, though, Gene, is not to protect and to serve. You're asking for a private security company to sit on your place of business. That's what you're asking for. That's the difference.
Mayor, we had 12 security guys from Macon, Georgia, not even Dublin. The reason we go to Macon now to get security guys is because security guys that we used to use have friends.
You need to get some more, 'cause they didn't do any good.
Let me ask
Not
you
that
this,
night.
what did my dad do for a living when I was growing up?
What did who?
My dad do for a living, since I grew up rich,
I'm not
my
sure.
dad was a janitor.
I'm not
So just
sure.
kind of be careful before you judge anyone, okay?
No, I'm not judging anyone. I'm not judging anyone.
When you're trying to
I don't know.
insinuate we don't know hardship, I can guarantee you I do.
Okay.
Has council got anything else they want to say? 'Cause I think we've about said it all. Anything else?
I think we can discuss it more later and come up with something that may be.
I'm open to Councilman Davis's recommendation of just try to come up with something, some kind of plan, but the thing is, it's a two-way street. We've got to have effort to resolve the problem on the other end as well if we're going to put our police out. You said yourself, you'd shoot back with automatic weapons. Why would you want to open up a private business if you think you got to go in there with an automatic weapon? I understand banks, they take in a lot of money and all, but if you think you need to protect yourself with an automatic weapon, why in the world are you still trying to promote a business
Not
like that?
protecting, I said protecting the people that come. That's what
Protect
it's
the
about,
people that
protecting.
come. Well, the people who came was the ones who had automatic weapons.
You take the good with the bad, it's more good than bad. You gonna let 100 people die?
I mean, I'm an open-minded person, don't get me wrong. I believe in hearing all sides of everything, and that's the reason I'm open to the meeting. But the thing, and I know I get a little bit emotional when it comes to the police department on there, but I'm gonna have to back the chief until we can come up with two-way resolutions to get it, we're not having that situation going on. I just can't. So, I mean, if they wanna have a place to relax, I'm fine with it, don't get me wrong. But if there's repeated situations, I'm not gonna dare ask the chief to send officers in there. The private security sector is the route to go on that. I mean, honestly is on there. Now, if you get a track record of it becoming more tame and not having violence on there, I don't have a problem if the chief makes a judgment call to do that. I'm very open-minded to it. I think you should have the right to try to make your business thrive, but it needs to be in a peaceful manner. So I'm not just trying to shut you out completely. I'm just saying it needs to be a two-way street. Both sides need to make an effort to make this thing happen.
Efforts being made. I'm coming to you.
All right, anything else? Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Any other citizens like to address council? If not, we'll start with Councilman Johnson.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank everyone for coming today. Thank the employee of the quarter and also of the year. I also thank those who have retired. You're going to enjoy your retirement, I hope, Joe, that you enjoy it. Looking forward to working with the Mercer Group to have Nate's financial person. And did we do the last one with you, Tiffany, with the water? Did we do that? With the water?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. And I'm looking forward to that being done. I just don't remember. I reckon I was somewhere else.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Griggs.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I'd also like to thank and congratulate the retirees and the police for your bravery and everything that y'all do. I look forward to working with the Mercer Group as well. I think he's gone already, but and Doyle, the light will be ready for it, I know. And just again, thank everybody for coming and have a good St. Patrick's Month.
Thank you. Mr. Edwards.
Thank everyone for coming. I'd like to congratulate everyone who was recognized today and the retirees as well. And thank you for the police and fire departments, everything y'all do for us every day in and day out. Thank you for the updates on the grants and everything that's been going on with the water park. I know we got a lot more items to hash out on that between the county, but we are showing some progress on that. I would like to thank the business owners that addressed council earlier. I'm a business owner myself, and I know there's struggles in the business, but, you know, maybe we all need to just kind of sit down together and look at this thing with open-minded. I mean, I'm not completely about shutting things out. I believe in looking into things, but, and like I said, if the situation changes and the police chief changes his opinion, I'll back him on there. So let's all kind of sit down and discuss it, so that we can come up with. I have no problem with that. But as of right now, it's too soon after this, though, to just make a rash decision on doing anything. And let's just kind of ride it out, see what we can do. And Chief Cutler, did you bring the unit up for the council to look at after the meeting? We have the new rescue vehicle out back for the council to look at after the meeting on there, and appreciate you taking time to bring that there. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Well, I echo the comments that have been made. Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
I thank everyone for coming out, and to the retirees, enjoy your retirement and sit back, relax, don't worry. Don't worry about anything, and look forward to working with the Mercer group and also the CBG grant. I'm excited about it. Get to do some improvement over in Ward 1 Southside, so I'm excited about that. And look forward to the water park coming next year. And our police officers, thank for all that you do and for keeping us safe. And I went out there Saturday morning, walked around, and I felt safe also. Seeing your presence was good, but also for all you do for the city. I mean, I know you put your life in danger and what have you every day. And thank you for what you're doing. I happened to be, matter of fact, the day that the guy jumped the bridge, I happened to be getting out my car, going into a business and saw him when he jumped. I'm like, what in the world? So thank you for your bravery and what have you for showing that. And like remind everyone, we're still accepting youth applications to March for youth council to March the 19th. So if you know of a youth that's interested in joining the youth council, please get an application and fill it out. And we're having a job fair on March the 29th at the Old Coney gym. And we have several businesses, local businesses that are hiring, including the city of Dublin and VA that are coming. So please come out and let's spread the word. You know anybody looking for a job, March the 29th at 9 to 12 p.m., 9 a.m. to 12. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too would just like to echo what's been said and congratulate the retirees. I thank our police department for what you do on a daily basis. Congratulate the employee of the year and employee of the quarter. And otherwise, just thank everybody for being here. And y'all have a happy and safe St. Patrick's Month. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
I want to commend all of the people that received that award. The Employee of the Quarter, Dennis Brown, Employee of the Year, Detective Sergeant David Mark Bell. I want to congratulate Joe Conant and Debbie Stewart on their retirement. Hope you have a wonderful retirement. Just continue to be someone that would be giving back to the community, because you'll get bored not doing anything. And I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to also thank Kathy Thigpen also for great service to the city. Hope you enjoy your retirement. Thank you for coming.
Paul?
Congratulations to the retirees already, very much. And congratulations to the employees who won the employee of the quarter and the year. And thank you to all the law enforcement. Enjoyed working with all of you in municipal court, and thank you for all that you do. I really appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Ms. Stanley?
I would like to congratulate the Employee of the Quarter and Employee of the Year and the retirees. Joe hired me 22 years ago, and that was a blessing. Thank you. Huh? Yeah, I was 4. And Miss Debbie, I remember her when I first started working here. I always admired her grace and her style, and she was just always so sweet. And we're gonna miss you. And Miss Kathy, I mean, what can I say about Miss Kathy? She is, when I tell you this woman works, I mean, she works. All the renovations that you see around City Hall, she probably spearheaded it. I was just always in awe of just everything that she does, her ideas, and we're very blessed to have you all, 30 plus years. and the city of Dublin is a wonderful place to work. I tell people all the time, it's a blessing to be able to work for 30-plus years and then get rewarded for it after you're able to retire and you can enjoy retirement. So thank everyone for coming. Thank you to our law enforcement for everything that you do. I know you have a tough job, and but we just all appreciate everything that you do. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
I think I probably talked enough. It's a pretty day. If you're not working otherwise, follow Steve down to the golf course.
Can the workers get off?
No further business, stand adjourned.